So basically, what I see often with all my clients, these are the mistakes I've gone through, and this is what I see every single time I speak to a new person on a market research call or on a sales call, or even when we start working together, that these are the things that we all go through when we have these relationships with food, which is not like everyone else's. You know, there's some people who can have chocolates and chips in the cupboard, and or this is how I thought, you know, there are people who could have bad foods in their cupboard, bad foods, which is chocolates, chips, you know, sugar, but I'm not one of them because I can't trust myself around that. So I thought food was to blame for it. I could literally hear food speak to me and say, eat me. And I made food my enemy because of that, because I was obsessing over what I was eating all the time. I would think about it all the time. I would wake up and think either, what did I eat wrong yesterday and how can I make up for it? Or what am I going to eat today so that I don't go through the same thing again? And then 10 o'clock, same thing will come up. Snack time, we'll have something. And then it would be like, oh my gosh, but you know, I'm wanting pastries. And then I felt guilt for wanting pastries. And that's how my day would carry on. Nighttime, I would binge, and I wonder why. It's because my whole brain was so full of food thoughts, and it just took over my life. And because of that, I made food the enemy, and I eliminated most of it. And that's where my orthorexia stemmed from, is the fact that I completely annihilated all food groups almost, and I just ate very little, and it made everything worse. So that is what I see often happen, especially if a lot of my clients come from the health and wellness space, and they all feel the same. So they've tried to eliminate all these things. I always hear sugar is addictive, sugar is the enemy, sugar is so bad. You know, we've had a no sugar movement for a while now, and that's like part of the problem. You know, some people, especially if you've had this history of restricting food, those are the things you would binge on, because your body needs sugar to a certain extent, and your body needs carbohydrates. It needs all types of foods to keep you moving. And if we start restricting ourselves, mentally we start thinking about it all the time. But physically, from a biological perspective, like we actually release chemicals in our body that actually make us crave carbohydrates if we are on these really restrictive diets. And the reason our bodies need that carbohydrate is because it feels so low and depleted, it cannot function. And we actually need to have that sugar. And that's why you'll like have those undeniable food thoughts, which is like seeing, literally, I used to see pastries floating in front of my head while I was working at my desk. And so it's crazy, but you know, that is one of the biggest things. Number two is thinking that I have no willpower. So again, this is the place where we go, oh, well, I have no control over food. And it's because we have placed so much thought and so much belief that food is the enemy and food is the thing that is holding us back from everything, that we actually, like, you know, our brains actually start developing this thing where we think, oh yeah, I don't have any willpower, so I might as well keep eating. But every time we tell ourselves, I have no willpower, every time you tell yourself, oh, I shouldn't be eating this, this is so naughty, every time you're like, oh, well, you know, I've cheated, so I might as well carry on. What that does is it validates the fact that you've said that you have no willpower, and it makes it even worse. So these are the reasons when you start a diet, you already know in the back of your mind, it's been telling you, oh, this is not going to work. You have no willpower. These are the things that talk to you day in, day out when you are struggling. If you have this history of overthinking about food and being in the space of binge eating and emotional eating. The third thing is I can figure this out on my own. And obviously this is oftentimes I talk about being an ego, and this is where our ego steps in and says, no, well, you know, all you need to do is cut out sugar and you'll be fine, because sugar is so addictive. That's what Sarah Wilson said. So it must be true. So how about we just cut out sugar for a couple of weeks and then we'll be fine. And you know what? It might work for a week. It might work for a second week. But then it all comes back down to you having a piece of sugar somewhere along the line, a sneaky little chocolate, and then it's all derailed from there. And the reason why recovery needs guidance is because it is, you know, you cannot, it's very specific. You cannot go and understand from something you read or someone's opinion on social media about how to heal. There's like very specific steps that you need to follow: making peace with food, understanding where your food thoughts come from, understanding that your willpower is not determined by you know, by food at all, you know. And those are little things that we have to break down, but we often just go, oh, you know, I can fix this, you know, I'm sure I'll find the recipe somewhere along the line. And that's what I thought. And I used to say, well, eating healthy is such a science, you know, it's such a strict science, you know, you have to just be X, Y, Z and you'll be fine. And every single time I was proven like wrong. And this is where I really want you to think how many times you have been on an eating plan and how many times you have said to yourself you have no willpower, and whether that's actually worked for you or not, because we often think that it will, and we often hopeful, but then we also have this belief in the back of our minds that it won't.